So first off, everybody, welcome. First off, I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to spend some time. So my goals are very simple today. I want to talk to you guys about why doing planning is so important when at some levels, the markets are doing what they are, the economy is doing what it is, the world is doing what it is, and it's like it's so easy to just not do this. So what I'm going to do is make the case why this is critically important, especially this year, and then I'm going to lay out a format or a syntax of how we do it. So for a lot of you, look, there are three types of people that are here right now. People that I'm knee deep in, they're a network, they're personal clients of mine, they know the process protocol. And for those who've been to Fort Lauderdale, if in the Q&A box you want to make some commentary what the process is like. So for the ones that have not been here, they know what we're talking about. I would really personally appreciate that. But here's the real issue. And I was thinking about this on a walk and talk the other day. I was just kind of thinking about how long I've been doing this, right? And what I realized is I'm in my fourth decade. And that really scared me. I started in the 90s, 2000, 2010, now 2020s, right? So it's like 4 decades, which sounds a lot older than 28 years, but the way it kind of shapes out, right? And so I've been very focused on planning for advisors for 21 of those 28 years. In fact, this year will be our 21st year in a row that we've done either. The only year we took off was COVID, and we did everything virtual. But other than that, we've always done a multi-day live event, which will be this year in Fort Lauderdale. And the reason why I find this so important is that each and every one of you are business owners. And I don't care what your business card says. I don't care if you're with a large wirehouse or an insurance company or anything like that. Ultimately, you're responsible for your success. And if you don't have a plan, you're really abdicating that responsibility to yourself, to your family, to your clients, to your team, all the above. And the reason why most advisors, and I say most, upwards of 80% do not do business planning / strategic planning, it's really one and the same, is that because they've had a bad experience with it or they don't understand the value of it, right? So what I've seen a lot of times in my career, when I'm taking on a new client, and I don't take on that many these days, I'm lucky and blessed that most of my clients stay with me for a very long time. But when I was doing a lot of onboarding, several years ago, I would say, okay, send me a copy of your business plan. And I would say, 8 out of 10, A, didn't have it, or B, couldn't find it if they did it. Yep. So the first problem we have as an industry is we look at planning as sort of this event that either the firm makes you do, or your branch manager makes you do, or you think you need. It's like a New Year's resolution thing. Well, I should have something. And the problem with that is it's not well thought out. It's fleeting at best, because you'll do it once and it's like a tax return. You'll put the file away and never look at it again. So what I'm here to do is make the argument that we want to do something different. For those of you who are being exposed to this very first time, I want to offer you a whole different process, a whole different level of outcome. And so what most advisors' business plans look like, they tend to be glorified spreadsheets that focus on the math, right? So how many clients, how much AUM, how much premium, we math it all out, and away we go. And that's kind of what we do, and it's meaningless. It's just very very nebulous and doesn't really do much. So I think the first thing we need to do is really, first off, is the why. Why do a plan, right? And the question, so here's the scenario I want to give you. There's 2 things all of you need. And I want you to think about it this way. If, let's say, you got referred to a super high net worth, very successful business owner, and this would really move if you got this person as a client, they would really move the economic needle. And they say, look, I like you. I think you can really serve me well as an advisor. I just want to know you have 2 things, and I just want to see the cover. Show me the first page of your personal financial plan, and show me the first page of your strategic business plan. You have those 2 things, you have my business. Now, we're not going to raise hands here or anything like that. But I want you to think about that if that was you. Could you produce those documents to that person? Not show it to them like page by page, but could you say I have them and do it with being authentic, not lying, and stuff like that, right? So the first thing we have to understand is we have a responsibility to set a course. If you're going to talk to your clients about goals or financial goals or where do you want to be 5 years from now, retirement or a business owner, you better have your game locked down yourself. That's the first thing. If you're going to influence a person, you've got to come from a place of congruency and power. And the way you get that congruency and power is by actually walking the talk. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, our industry is notorious for going sideways, getting confused, off on wild tangents, shiny objects. And so in other words, if you don't have a written where you want to go, you're just going to do. So, and there's two psychologies here. There's what I call the more better game, which is I just want to do a little bit more than I did last year. I just want to get a little bit better than I did last year. Totally nebulous. How do you measure it? I don't know. Or we have the, I want to go double my business in the next 3 years. Great. What do you need to do to pull it off? I have no idea, but I know I want to do it, right? So in other words, I got a concept, but I've got no way to back it out, right? So a quick framework, since we're going to talk about this. So when we do strategic planning and just the plan itself, and I'll give you elements in a little bit, is we're going to start with a 10-year vision for yourself personally and professionally. So 10 years. So figure that out, 40 quarters, okay? Now, are we going to write it in absolute stone like this is going to happen? No. It's a working concept, but you need a working concept of where you want to go a decade from now. Then we're going to bring it back into a tight 12-quarter or 3-year tangible tactical action plan. This is the heart of that plan, is that 12-quarter, because 1 year, too tactical, 10 years, too strategic. The sweet spot is that 3-year window. So we build that out. And then we're going to extrapolate down into a tight 4-quarter or 12-month plan, and away we go. And it's all going to fit, right? And it's in writing. And not only is it in writing, but you're going to look at it once a week. And I'll explain that protocol in a little bit, okay? So that's the first thing we need to do, is get very clear. Now, what are the elements of a plan? What does it all look like? It's not the one, I know there's some coaches out there that got the one-page business plan. Great. I can use that to light my campfire, because that's about, and I say this respectfully, it does not get the job done. I've seen it. It's okay. Look, in lieu of anything better than nothing, okay? But let me walk you through the process first, and then the other elements. It's not just about sitting down and getting a legal pad or a journal or a spreadsheet and just start, writing stuff down. Well, that would serve you to a certain degree. There's no context to it. The biggest challenge we have also as an industry is a lot of you have done things that have worked for you in the past, and the old saying, it worked so good I stopped doing it, right? So what we want to do is we want to do a debrief of our current/previous year. So we're talking 2022 year. And look, it's not been, for a lot of us, not been pretty. A lot of adversity, sailing into the storm, whatever you want to call it. But look, let's face it. The last time the industry had to go through something like this was 12 years ago in 2008, 2009. So my major concern and my suspicion is that two things. Number one, the advisors who have experience have let their adversity muscle atrophy. And the new advisors never developed the adversity muscle because they never were in a condition like this. So they have so there's no basis, there's no sense of that, right, going forward. So those things are really important. All right, so we get that basis down. So the first thing we're going to do, and this is my process, we walk you through a 3-part review and recap. So step 1, we're going to have you write a narrative, and the way we frame it to our participants is that think of it like a 5-minute board of directors. You're going to write down, and you can narrate, you can do a narrative, you can do bullet points, whatever you want to do. And basically, hey, what went well? What didn't go so well? What am I proud of? What do I need to fix going into next year? Right? That's step 1. Step 2, KPIs, key performance indicators. What are some of them? For example, new money, new households, name source via referral. How big did this will be important to Charlie, how big did we grow our LinkedIn game, our tribe this year, right? There are about, I would say 20 key KPIs that we want to look at going forward, right? Now, first time out, you're not going to know most of them, so don't sweat it, but now you know what you need to track. So that's part 2. And then part 3 was there's 17 unique benchmarks that you need to master in order to have what I call a great game. From morning rituals to daily game plans to marketing, branding, business development, to how you do your reviews, how you run your team, how you handle yourself. There's 18 very specific benchmarks. So it's not just about showing up and doing some goal setting. It's really about memorializing what has worked. So we want to bring that forward, right? And then where are we falling short? And what I found, and again, we've been using this benchmark now for this version probably about 5-6 years with some modifications, is and I say this with the utmost respect, most advisors are unconsciously incompetent. They don't know what they don't know about these benchmarks. So when you see them, you go, I never realized that. I never gave that much thought. And you have these moments of epiphany inside that process, right? And we haven't even done the plan yet, but that's leading up to the plan. So it's not just about sitting down for a half hour, an hour, blowing some numbers down in a spreadsheet. We want to be very intentional and very complete so we memorialize these things going forward. Okay?
So I'm going to jump in for a second, and
Sure.
I'm going to read one comment, endorsement of yours, and also, you know, the market like we've seen this year, and
Yep.
you referenced going back to 2008 is really the last time that we went through that type of turmoil.
Yep.
As a coach and having worked with advisors, gosh, 4 decades. You said it like that. I didn't like to hear it that way, by the way. I don't have 28 years, but I got 22. All 4 of those decades you mentioned.
Yep.
It's those moments where actually a lot of change happens in the industry, right? People are way more emotional about their money and their investments and their future than they are about their advisor relationship. Doesn't matter how well you've taken care of those clients. The advisors that are prepared for adversity stand to gain greatly during times like this, because you've got a lot of clients that are, not really easy with their current relationship, and it's easier to make that acquisition at that time.
Yeah, I mean, it's really counterintuitive, and we'll sidebar for a second because I think it's so my brain kind of works the way it does. So if something pops in, I need to get it out.
Yeah, I hear you.
So it's actually easier today to grow your business than it was a year ago today. And for a lot of people, I was like, what? And so let me paint a picture. Up until, let's say, a couple quarters ago, I mean, the typical investor was what I call fat, dumb, and happy on FANGs, right? Buy Facebook, buy some Google, buy some Tesla, throw in some Bitcoin if you like, and you're your own rock star portfolio manager. Could not lose money, right? Well, those days are gone, right? At least for now. So that creates an opportunity. Number 2, as we all know this is a relational business. Advisor is a client. And so if an advisor is not really communicating that effectively or that often with an advisor, but they log in, look at their statement, I made money this quarter. So while they're perturbed, they're not hearing, it's not painfully critical.
Yeah.
That's totally different today.
That's
right.
So
now the advisor who's not been communicating to their client because they don't want to have the tough conversation is now the client is upset and feels abandoned, quasi pissed. Yep. That is your opportunity to go after. I go back to 0809 with my clients when I say, look, you have 2 ways to play this. Now, I'll say this here because I think, again, the conditions are different, but the game's the same.
Yeah. You
have 2 choices in this game. You're either going to be reactive and try to be scarcity minded and hold on to what you're doing and hope it works out and ride the storm out and you'll be okay. So I'm not saying anything bad's going to happen, but if you were to take the other tact and say, I'm going to get out there, really optimize referrals and introductions, talk to my COIs, play my, really play a powerful social media LinkedIn game, do those things, I get opportunities. And I know for a lot of you fee-based guys and gals that it feels like I call it patching potholes, right? We're bringing assets in, the market's going down, we're patching potholes. We're not seeing the result. We're kind of trying to keep level, right, with the ground. Yep. But when things turn around, and I saw this in 08, 09, more like 2010, 2011. One day you wake up and your business is up 30, 40%, and like, wow, what happened? Because that happened, right? Yep. And that has got to be the belief set that you go into this situation with so that you can go ahead and be effective and be proactive and be external. The choice is either you're going to look at yourself and woe is me, my money line's down, clients are paying, and you make it all by yourself, you're not going to grow your business. Make it about service to others. You can do anything you want, right? I think that's great.
Before we move on, let me read our mutual friend, Cheryl Hickerson. And if you don't know Cheryl's group, Females in Finance, not just for women, it's really in support of the entire industry. Check out Females in Finance. Cheryl's got a great group there. She says, Coach Joe and his coaching experience is one of the very best in the financial services profession, period. If you have not gone to Magellan Mastermind and signed up for his newsletter at a bare minimum, you're missing out. I appreciate his raw and real coaching to build a better landscape of professionals. That's a pretty big endorsement, Joe.
Well, Cheryl and I, it was nice. Her and Daryl came last year to business planning. Cool. And they spent 3 days together with me. And
Awesome.
I think Cheryl had some personal breakthroughs there, which I won't get into here. But I appreciate her taking the time to come to travel to Florida to be a part of that. So it was really, really cool.
Yeah.
And the business planning thing I do is, it's not the most lucrative thing we do. I do it because I find it to be necessary.
Yeah.
I think it's really something that, whether you do it live in Fort Lauderdale or you plug into our live stream or virtual, it's just something that for those of you who've not done, it's a very unique experience. Nothing like you've ever seen, nothing you've ever experienced. And Charlie, I'm looking forward to having you kind of check it out live, in Fort Lauderdale, because Charlie will be actually one of our teachers, one of our partners. He'll be doing we break it up into 3 days. Day 1 is mindset. Day 2 is our 10-year, 3-year, 1-year vision, and then day 3 is everybody's favorite, marketing, branding, and business development. And Charlie's going to be actually presenting a lot of the marketing pieces, social media marketing, LinkedIn marketing, things like that. So it's not just me coming in to do this. There'll be also a series of other experts coming in to make this a very rich experience. So with that said, let's talk about what the plan really looks like, or what the elements really need to be. Okay. So here's where I make a radical departure from all my contemporaries. And I love all the practice management coaches and consultants. I love them all dearly. Again, some are better than others. That's not the point here. But here's the deal. Your business is you. So I want you to think about it this way. And we're not going to do this live, but I want you to kind of think about it for a second. I want you to think about your ultimate goal, the 5-year, 10-year goal. Business, right? Come up with a number. And let's keep it simple. And we're not going to have you articulate it. I don't care about that. Come up with how much top line you want to do in the next 5 years. Just take a second and do it. Okay. All right. Now you got it. Hopefully that shouldn't take longer than that. What most advisors do, what most human beings do, is they'll take that goal and they'll reverse engineer it. Okay. They'll break it down to how much, what it looks like annually. Then they'll break it down to how much AUM I need or premium I need. And then they'll break it down, right? And then you got this game. And then month 1 of that track starts and you miss the targets, and now poof, right? There's a fatal flaw in that thinking. And here's what I've discovered it is. It's a real secret. You have to determine, because I'm going to use an example. Let's just say today you're going to top out about, let's say, $500,000. And your 5-year vision is I want to do 1.5 to $2 million. Let's just say that's for whatever reason, okay? The person today that's on this chat is the $500,000 version of that person. What has to be determined and discovered is, what does a 1.5 to $2 million version of you look like? Because ultimately what matters is becoming that person in advance, then the business marches forward. There's this concept, which is totally false, that a lot of advisors look at their business as this other entity. Well, Joe, I just got to get my business to do. Like, no. I don't care. And I've got clients that will make $500,000 literally working in their living room, 100% virtual. And I've got clients that run $3 billion shops, okay, and everything in between. And I will tell you the psychology is exactly the same between a $500,000 person and a $3 billion person. It's the common denominator is, what's the next version of the person? And here's my evidence. The person you are, I want you to go back 5 years. Are you the same person today as you were 5 years ago? We all know the answer is no. But here's the key difference. Instead of it being a random evolutionary process that we hope turns out okay, why don't we make it intentional? And why don't we go ahead and really come up with our current blueprints? This is all day 1, by the way. Our current blueprint and our future blueprint, right? It's called MyOS, or My Operating System. This is something I developed maybe 8 years ago now, just kind of noodling on some things, right? So what is MyOS? What's mindset? And there's a recipe to it. We all hear this. Oh man, you got to have the right mindset. You got to have the positive. Like, what the heck does that mean? Well, I've been able to kind of break it down. So here's what that means. No particular order, by the way. What your beliefs are about success, failure, your future, who you are, your clients, the business, everything. Global beliefs. Next, what's important to you, your values. So what do you value? And here, I'll give you a great example why values matter and how they can screw you up. So let's say, for example, for most of you in this game, One of the reasons why you got into this game was the word freedom, which is a value. It's an emotional state. I want to be free. I don't want to have to work for the man. I want to have control. But subconsciously, as you build your business out, and if you don't evolve your systems and hire the right people, you end up growing your game, but having less freedom. Your subconscious goes, wait a second. We don't want this. Oh, you know what? Let's sabotage. Because that's the only skill, because that's the only thing we have to use, right? That's where you get off, you get uncomfortable, you kind of move away. So if freedom is important to you, you have to take that into consideration, and this is just an example, in the planning process. Where, okay, I got to build a business model that allows me to maintain, if not increase, my freedom, right? And I've got clients that, like I said, I'll use examples. The $500,000 person, they take 16 weeks off a year, and the $3 billion person takes 16 weeks off a year. There's just two different models of how to get there, right? It's the beauty of it, right? So I got values. The rules, the how do you know, to those values, right? Very important. Next, internal dialogue. What do you say to yourself every day, right? What do you, I'm just lucky. I don't deserve this. You know, I'm unorganized. Man, I'm just not a morning person. Whatever your habitual conversation yourself, it becomes your reality. So we got to check that, right? And by the way, when we say check that, there's two things we do for day one. We have you construct your current emotional blueprint through all these things. Then we take a break for lunch and watch everybody be freaked out over lunch, which is always interesting. And then in the afternoon, we come back and we say, hey, you now are empowered to create a version of you intentionally that you want that's going to get you to where you need to go. Let's do that. And for a lot of people, if they were to take day one and never come back for day two, day three, they've got tremendous breakthroughs happen in that room. It's just powerful to see that, right? So we have beliefs, values and rules, internal dialogue. The next thing we have is what I call the man or woman in the mirror. So self-identity. So this is where we get into, we get into a lot of times the conversation of imposter syndrome, which is all imposter syndrome, by the way. What do you see when you look in the mirror? Because what you see right now is, to use that concept, is the $500,000 version of you. What does the $2 million version need to look like? And I'm serious, like this is a big deal. Some people don't think they look successful. And because their health is not, maybe they're overweight, there's things they need to do, right? And look, I'm going to say this because I'm very blunt. I've had clients who have revolutionized their business by losing 75 pounds, by losing 50 pounds. And it's not because, yes, they got healthier and they had more energy, but you know what changed? A radical shift in their identity. And we don't talk about that in this industry because it's kind of taboo-y, right? In essence. Next thing we have to do after we look at identity is what Tony Robbins calls the 6 human needs and their hierarchy. So contribution, love and connection, certainty, uncertainty, so on and so forth. And so your human needs and the hierarchy and the vehicles associated to those human needs will drive all your behavior. Okay? If you crave significance, you always have to be right. So if you're significant, it's hard to be a leader. It's hard to be a servant leader if significance is really, really important to you. Conversely, if it's about contribution, you can be careful because you end up running a nonprofit. Like there's a balance point between, there's like a recipe that is unique as your DNA is to you. And what we need to do is determine what the current version of that is and what the future version has to look like, right? So that's the whole process. And by the way, we're not spending 2 days in Fort Lauderdale or on our webcast just kind of working through. Like there is probably 6 hours of pre-work that our participants do before they do the live stream or they come down to Fort Lauderdale, where we're gonna indoctrinate you, and that's a positive term here. We're gonna indoctrinate you into this material. So you have you're not gonna be an expert, we know that, but you're gonna have a strong working knowledge so that when you're either in the room or you're doing it on the live stream, you're gonna know, okay, I know what a value is. I know what a belief is. I kind of know what the 6 human needs are. We do all that. And then the last thing, and then I'll flip back to you for a second, is how do you define failure? Because let's face it, we are in a failure-driven business. And I don't need to show you, but take any example, right? If you're doing a mailing, What percentage of mailing did you respond? If in Charlie's game, if you're sending out LinkedIn connections, what percentage say yes to you, right? If you're promoting referrals, what percentage of clients give you a name? Like I can go on and on and on. And if you have a disempowering belief of failure, that's really, really holding you back. So what we're going to do in our process, we're going to have you reframe failure, where it's just part of the process. Like it's no big deal, right? And so like a terrible example, but I always use because I like it. So if I say, what are your rules around failure? And you say, well, if somebody says no, or let me think it over, or I'll get back to you, you're basically dead in the water in this industry because you're going to hear those three terms 95% of the time. Okay? Or the fourth one now is, I don't hear anything. I get ghosted. I send an email. I do a message on LinkedIn. I get nothing back. Right? I get ghosted. Right? So if this is your current recipe on failure, your brain goes, we don't like this. So what do? Well, we better not do much because we got to sabotage because we don't want to feast this. Right? So here's what I do in the room. I say, look, let's write a new definition of failure. Here's what happens. You only feel failure in the following way. Number one, they say no way. They also say, never contact me again. They also say, I think you're a fraud and full of BS. And they hate your mama. 4 things. So in other words, it takes a lot to trigger it, right? Because right now, a lot of you have hair triggers. I get ghosted. Oh, no, they rejected me. No, they didn't. They just get back to you, right? And the example I use is how many of you, think about this. We're all human. How many of you got something in the mail, email, wherever, and you go, man, I want to take advantage of that. And then you off into life and you totally forget and you miss it. No matter what it is, right? So again, don't get caught up in, woe's me. It's like, okay, timing's not right. And unless they really blow your doors off on rejection, again, that's one of the things that if I can just unshackle everyone here today on the rejection game, it could transform a lot of your businesses going forward. Okay. Charlie, questions, comments?
Nothing open from our attendees, but Joe, I've defined failure a little differently, right? Rejection's part of it, right? You've got to talk 100%. To a lot of people to be able to inspire others and have an impact on people's lives. I really think it's, certainly there's self-protectionism there. Incidentally, I got more notes from this webinar so far than probably all of them that we've done. So there's protectionism there. Failure is when you quit, right? I mean, if you and maybe it's quit the activity.
Well,
it doesn't.
That's your rule. That's your rule. That's a rule everybody else needs to have. Agreed.
Sure. Okay. And fair enough, right? But that's always, we've actually this month, Social Advisors is 9 years old.
Congratulations.
Hurt myself patting me on the back, right? Yeah. We're a statistical anomaly. But I could look at our revenue chart. And I could probably tell you what my self-identity was.
Yep.
And unfortunately, I could do that easier with the troughs and the valleys than I could the peaks. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like it's weird. The human condition focuses on those down times more than we really focus on the down more than we celebrate the up.
Yeah, 100%. And we end up in that loop. And I'll share a couple things which I wasn't planning to, but the door opened, so I'm gonna walk into it. So, my career, like I said, I've been doing this, I'm in my 28th year. And when my 25th year, which is 3.5 years ago now, I was really in a wine road conversation from, I would say, year 15 to year 25, about a decade. I was happy with what I was doing. It was cool. And, it's like I could continue on. Money was good, everything good. And then my 25th anniversary was coming up, and it made me like pause, because that's a seminal moment, whether it's a marriage, you turn 25 as a person, business, everything. 25 is a big deal. And I really was depressed for, like, I'll use the word depressed because that's kind of the word that comes to mind. Because is this what I was going to do forever? Is this the way I wanted to do it? Like, is this, just kind of having nice little clients and doing my jam? And my clients are very loyal. The average tenure is about 14 and a half years. Several of my clients have been with me. Like, I still have client 3 and 5 with me. So, and everything we do is month to month. So it's not like they have a lifetime contract or anything. And, but I was really introspective. And I said, I got 2 possibilities here. I can just kind of keep doing what I'm doing. That's kind of nice, and it'll be cool. I'll be bored to tears. I'm already bored. And so I said, and I have this thing called a rocking chair test. And so let me share, because I talk about it in business planning anyway. So the rocking chair test is I want you to think about the end of your career, maybe even the end of your life. And I want you to imagine you're sitting on a front stair where it doesn't matter where, and you're sitting in a rocking chair, and you're about to pass on. But you have a moment to look back at your life. And I said, man, I will have regrets. Like that scared me. Like a lot of people think I'm this really motivational person, and there's moving towards and moving away characteristics. But I am more moving away like that. Like if you ask me, Joe, what gets you out of bed in the morning and what keeps you moving? I always say the rocking chair, because I don't want to look back at life and have any regrets. So I made a conscious decision that day to say, okay, that's where Magellan Network was born. That's when I started to do a lot of stuff I've been doing today. I had to, again, do another transformation with myself and my own self-identity, because it's one thing to do something one-on-one. It's another thing to lead tribes. Yeah. It's a totally different level of what needs to be done, right? And do it every day at a very high level. So I'm having more fun than I've ever had before. I'm rocking it out. I love it to death. And but it's the opinion. So the point I'm making is this. I got that to happen after 25 years of good success. And not that the money matters. I've tripled the business in 3 years.
Wow.
So to go from 5 or 10% growth to triple in 36, okay? Now, why? How? I became a different person.
That's cool.
I evolved.
That's cool.
Right? Now, the same process that I use for me is the same process we're talking about here, okay? This is the key thing. People are people, right? There's nothing, I say this with the utmost respect, there's nothing unique about advisor land except compliance. Business is business, success is success, failure is failure, okay? So the point I'm making right now, I always talk about this, easy versus hard. The easy thing to do right now is say, oh man, look at the markets, look at the economy, look what's going on in Eastern Europe, midterms are coming up. Like, man, it's going to be really hard to do business. And if that's your belief set, you're 100% right.
Truth.
Done.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
If you say, and I'm going to give you 3 things. Number 1, baby boomers retiring. Next 5 years, it's the bow wave of Boomerville. Okay? It's here. We're in the cusp of that. Number 2, not just boomers are retiring. The boomers who own businesses are selling their businesses. They're either going to sell them internally, or they're going to do something with them, right? Liquidity event, number 2. Number 3 is that we're going to lose 200,000 advisors in the next 5 years to death or retirement. Okay,
that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's the number.
That's the release number. Yeah, that I saw not too long ago. Yeah, 200,000. So I mean, if you take the average age of 58.5, put 5 years on that, do the math, right? It's there, right? Yeah. Right. So and then there's some that have not retired but should. They're hanging out, right? So the point the picture I'm painting is basically this. The next 5 years is going to be an unequivocal time in your career and your business lifespan where you have a window of time where all the conditions, forget what the market's going to do, the economy, forget that. We're talking about our game here.
Right.
There's a window that can make careers, make businesses if you take advantage of it.
Yep.
And to the rocking chair, you don't want to look back at 2030 or 2028 and say, "Oh man, I missed it. I was so self-absorbed with CNBC, news, social media, what Kim Kardashian's wearing today, all this other stuff, right? Like I was so self-absorbed with all that other stuff that I missed the big picture. Like my goal here today is to motivate, inspire. I don't care, scare.
Sure.
Like, don't miss this. Don't miss this.
Well,
it's critically important.
And that speaks to Cheryl's comment about you've got to get really uncomfortable to do something great, right? And you reached that point 3 years ago.
Yep.
And so something great came out of that. I've been through, I don't know if it's the transformation you're talking about, but those highs and lows in the 9 years and heck, the 20+ year career, right?
Yeah.
You've got to get uncomfortable to do something great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Michael commented also, you need a pretty strong why, right? So for him, it's his family, right? It makes taking that next step easy, because frankly, he knows why the heck he's doing it.
Yeah, and so for Michael, and I think yes, Trader, so I know who he is. So for Michael, so if we were to extrapolate that into human needs, what is that about? It's about love and connection, growth and contribution. It's not about significance. So he's doing it in the service of others. Yeah, See, that's what I'm saying. All of us have our drivers, And there's not like a right or wrong one, but you got to know what they are.
Yeah.
Right. So for Michael, it's the day he doesn't want to get like, oh man, I didn't sleep well. He's like, oh no, I got to do this for my family.
Yeah.
Right. You go. Right. You go. Right, Mike. You do your Magellan Morning 8. You do what you need to do. Get your game locked down. Right. So that's really the challenge that a lot of advisors have, is that, you know, they're inconsistent. And part of that inconsistency is that they don't have a track to run on because they have a concept of their future. It's not, again, I look at it just, it's like, you know, business malpractice. Like, if you're going to tell a client they need a financial plan, a retirement plan, all this other jazz, man, you better come with your A game from a place of power and congruency that you've got your own, right? It's critically important. So the mindset, so like I said, this is my big differential. And I spend the whole first day, and plus a lot of the pre-work, is all mindset work, right? Because everybody says, well, you know, you need the right mindset. Well, okay, but nobody knows what that means, right? So I give it meaning, and I put it in a blueprint format, so the current person, and once this happens, by the way, all things now are possible. So that's day one, right? So we wrap up day one, everybody's mentally exhausted, very powerful day. We call day one transformation day, right? Now we're into day two, which is planning day. So what does that look like? A couple things. My goal as a coach, one of my core values, is not just have you guys make more money. Well, that's nice, right? But I want you to have your cake. I want you to have it all. And I say this with the absolute most congruency. I believe if you're a financial advisor, you have a platform where you can do two things that most professionals cannot do. You can have time freedom and economic abundance if it's built right. Okay? Time freedom, you can do it from wherever you want to go, wherever you are, whenever you want to do. There's like no, you know, you don't get paid by the hour in most cases, so time is not relevant. It's all about output and getting results. Okay? And again, you know, it's about, you know, driving as much economic results you want. And I'm not here to say what the math should be. That's your decision. But I will say that that's critically important to determine that. So one of the modules we do is when we do our 10-year vision, inside of that module, I want to know about your ideal life and lifestyle. And what's been interesting, Charlie, is a byproduct, which we're trying to figure out how we're not going to do it this year, but we may figure out next year, is a lot of the participants want to get their spouse or significant others involved in that, because that becomes like a family exercise, right? In essence, going forward, right? So, you know, you want to create this template for yourself personally and professionally that is not just about making more money, but we're doing it in a sustainable manner. Because one of our core beliefs, at least inside of Network, is that we never have to retire. That we can do this as long as we want to, and we're going to create a business model that gives us time freedom, economic abundance, so we can kind of do what we need to do and enjoy the process. We're not airline pilots. We don't have to punch out at a certain age or anything like that. Right. And I just talked to one of my dear clients. He's 74 years old, and he's a rock star. Yeah. And it's a family practice. Both all his children are in the business, and he still gets up every morning and excited. He also travels 20 weeks a year, having some fun, right? He just told me he's going to Antarctica next summer. That's cool, right? But that's what you can do. You have a template. So what you have is when you're an advisor, is you have this kind of blank canvas to create a masterpiece on, but nobody's going to paint it for you but you, and that's your responsibility. Right. So 10-year ideal life and life. So we incorporate all that in there along with KPIs. Right. So that's our 10-year piece. Then we say, okay, so where do we need to be in relation to that? So that's our 3-year win. So our 3 is really our tactical game. So we get very granular business goals, personal goals, marketing, branding, biz dev. What does the team need to look like? What's our service model to our clients? Like, we really break it all down. And what's really cool about it, whether in the room or live stream, is, you know, there'll be 80, 100 advisors in the room, is, you know, we do a lot of Q&A. So there's a lot of brain power in that room, different ideas. So you know, there's no deck. I don't do it. When I do business planning, what everybody gets is this, and we're working the book. We're working the whole book over 3 days. That's what we do, right? So there's no deck. You're writing or you're typing. Your hand's going to cramp. Your fingers are going to hurt a little bit, but you're creating your masterpiece. And I think that's really important. And then we break it down to the 1 year, and that's where we really get tight. So the 1 year is really a series of 4 90-day or quarterly game plans. So that's when we get really, really tight in there. Now, when we say that, what we're also doing is not just doing that business piece, but you're also repping out your new identity. So I'm gonna, for the people that are here, I think this is critically important. So I'm gonna show this to you. So this is a quarterly game plan, right? I'm working on a book. So you notice what I have. So every day, I am, life is. These are all your these are all your beliefs. So every morning you're gonna read them. So how does one change themselves? There's two ways. There's that transformational moment that you now open the door and step in, but you're not staying in the room unless you continue the work and rep it out. So how you make lasting change is once you get through that pivot, now you got to stay in that lane and move forward, and that's where the repetition, that's where the consistency, that's why, and for some of you guys and gals who I know are in network, you know every morning on video, what am I talking about? Our morning ritual, our Magellan Morning 8. You got to have that locked down at the highest level. It's critically important. So we break that all down, right? And to a series of 4 quarterly games, and then one more break, right? Is we break it down to, let me just grab this real quick. Everybody does, this is a weekly game plan. So this is like this is your sheet for the week where you're tracking your KPIs. Like we've got it from 10 years to what you got to do in the next 5 days. All the way down, right? So that's day 2, that's vision day. Now, question before I get to day 3, which is your day.
No, and really there's no open questions, but I got to tell you,
Yeah.
So I'm traveling down to Fort Lauderdale from northern Wisconsin.
Okay.
Meeting, and I drive. For those who don't know, I got a camper on the pickup truck, and I can meet people along the way. And so I'm on my way up to see family in Wisconsin. Meetings on the way up. And Joe, I was kind of planning some things on the way back, but nothing in stone yet. Just so I can be there by Wednesday, right? So I can be there the moment it starts. I will wipe out everything on my calendar for that. I will beeline it from northern Wisconsin to Fort Lauderdale.
No, I appreciate that.
To make sure that I'm there for the 3 days, because I'll tell you what, as much as I'm excited to be a part of it as far as a presenter and bring some knowledge and experience to your crew, to your tribe, as a student, I'm super excited to be there.
Cool. I'm looking forward to having you there. So day 3 is after we do the mind meld day 1 and we do the vision day 2, right? So again, transformation day, vision day. Then day 3 is branding, marketing, and biz dev, right? B&B. So what we're going to do inside of that day is we tear apart everything. Your website, your brand. So your website, what are best practices, right? What do we need to do to elevate all that? And look, even if you work on referral only, make no mistake. Every person that your clients give your name out to, they're Googling you, and 2 things are going to show up on the first page, their LinkedIn page and your website. And it has to tell the right story. It cannot be loaded with, and please do me all the favor. I'm looking at, this is not a tangent. But I see so many advisors put pictures of their boat and lighthouses and forests on the first. That is the prime real. That should be you and your team, a welcome video. We'll get into that in Fort Lauderdale. Yeah. So we do that. Then we do marketing. That's where Charlie's going to come in. And he's going to talk about marketing, which is code for messaging. So how do you message? What platforms you use? What does that look like? So he's the expert. In past years, I would kind of do it, and I would do it, to my level. But I decided, let's enrich it. So Charlie's going to do a deep dive in that for you guys. And then we're going to talk about Biz Dev. And this is really critical because this is where I think a lot of advisors, I was talking to some other thought leaders in the marketing branding space. And this is the Achilles heel of this whole thing. Marketing branding is great, but unless you know how to convert a prospect to a client, if you don't know how to follow up, you don't know how to create a pipeline, that is it doesn't matter. Remember, those 2 things are there to do what? Attract what you're looking for. It's your job to convert it. So what's business development? That is referrals and introductions. That's optimization. That's follow up your pipeline. That's talking to your CPAs and attorneys, other COIs. See, a lot of people think that's marketing. No, that's the ground game. That's the one-on-one. We'll call it the contact sport. Yep. And a lot of advisors, they have beautiful marketing. They do podcasts. They do all these things, and they get flow, but they don't know how to capture the flow. Okay. Oh yeah, people join my newsletter list, or they hook me up on LinkedIn, whatever. They don't know to convert. So we're going to talk. I'm thinking that's going to be I'm coming after Charlie. I'm coming back on stage. And I'm going to share with you what works today, what's really, really working. So not 2-3 years ago, what's working today. Yeah. So that's kind of our whole process, right? From stem to stern, right? From that. perspective. And like I said, I've developed this over 21 years. So every year I'm always tweaking it, always adding to it. Oh, I know what to say. Oh, so if you happen to be in Fort Lauderdale, you're going to like this because you're an outdoors guy. So on day 2, when we're doing our goal set, when we're doing our planning day, our vision day, we start the day with a sunrise, goal setting, and gratitude workshop. So we're on the beach. In fact, we've got branded blankets for y'all, so you don't have to worry about sitting on the sand. We're all going to get a blanket. And what we're going to do is we're going to watch the sun come up over the Atlantic Ocean. And I'm going to walk you through a gratitude and goal setting workshop, which the people that have done this in the past will say is one of the most powerful things they've done. Awesome. And, God has graced me where I've had decent weather, so I've never gotten rained out so far. So we're going to continue that track today, this year. And it's just one of the beautiful things that we do. And so even if you couldn't be there, what we do, which is really cool. So let's just say you're in Wisconsin. We actually have a crew with a video camera, and we're actually streaming it live. So even though you can't be there physically, you're going to be there. And I'm going to walk you through the same process. You'll see the pictures. You'll see that. It's just one of the coolest things we do. And I even thought about moving the venue for where we are, but I can't get something on the beach like I have. So that's why we stay where we are. It's just one of the most beautiful things. So here's what I'm saying, and I guess in kind of wrapping this up, and then if there's any questions. You all have the opportunity to create a masterpiece, but it's your responsibility to do so. Nobody's going to come, and like with your business, nobody's coming to save you. Nobody's going to come and say, here's what you need to do. Like you got to figure this out for yourself. I've got a process and platform to do that. And I like you all to take advantage of it. I mean, you're all here. Many of you know who I am because you're all members of the network. So hopefully this will inspire you to sign. Look, real quick, and I'll say this out loud. I've got 3 pocket seats for Fort Lauderdale. So I've got 3 seats that I can make the room work. So if you want that, you got to come reach out to me and let me know you want to be in Fort Lauderdale. We'll talk about making that happen. Otherwise, before Charlie and I leave, we're going to give you a way to go register for the virtual side. With some very cool pricing and offer, because I have to do that. And with that said, is there any questions, anything you want to? We covered a lot of ground today. Quite frankly.
Yeah, so let's see. Elise is going to be there as well. She's joined us today. So Elise Stoner, Elise and Angela York are going to be there.
Yes, they'll be doing part of the marketing presentation. So where Charlie's doing the social side, Elise and Angela are going to do some of the marketing that we're actually going to do ideal client, really understanding and breaking down your ideal client.
Well,
so
awesome.
Again, I'm creating this all-star lineup for you guys to come and really just, put everybody in their expertise lane, which marketing branding is not mine.
I'll certainly talk about social. We'll talk about messaging, Joe. I think one of the most important technical tools you can use to know when the conversion is right is CRM. Right. I mean, so I'll spend a little time on CRM because if you're out there and you're active and you're using social and you're active on LinkedIn and you're building your network and you're tracking email addresses and things like that, one of the most difficult things, I mean, at first it's just as easy to nurture 10,000 people as it is 1,000 or 100. Yep. Right. But you've got to know inside that network who's ready for that deeper conversation. And there's great technical tools that can measure the way that people interact with your marketing messaging. To be able to tell you when the right time to reach out is with a
See, that's what I like right there, man. Like, see, that's the rock star stuff you're going to bring to the table that I'm not going to talk about. That's not my jam, right? Yeah. So I think that's cool. Yeah, I see Trip. Yeah, Trip, talk to Marissa, man. She'll get you one of those chairs. Just make that happen, brother. Looking forward to seeing you again.
And Cheryl mentioned the sunrise session was transformational, and she still uses her journal from that morning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So pretty
awesome. I hope, I know we got a few minutes left. Look, so bottom line is this. My goal is always to speak the truth, come off as authentic. For some of you, you may like my vibe. For others, you may not like my vibe, and that's okay too. Yep. But here's what I say: if you don't want to go through the process with me, go through the process somehow. Like find somebody. I don't care if you go online and get business plan template, Google it, and find something that may make sense to you. Here's the bottom line. Do not go into 2023 in the next 5 years when we have all this opportunity. Don't wing it. Winging it will give you wing it results. You may not like them, right? Going forward, that's critically important. So offer time, and then we'll see if there's anything else. So here's the website. You may want to write this down, or maybe I'll just the chat doesn't work, so I can't do that. So here it is. FA, so like financial advisor, BIZ, biz, plan, PLAN, FABizplan.com. Okay, that's our landing page. This is for the live stream. This is not for the live event. So you want to come live event, you have to reach out. Here's the code. this is important. The code is MAGNET, Magnet, like Magellan Network, MAGNET 23. Okay. Now, what is that going to do for you? What it's going to do is going to do this. It's going to take you from an investment of $1,495 for a chair, virtually, down to $495 for a chair, virtually. So $1,000, right? And it's got a guarantee. So I'm never comfortable pitching, so I'm not. Either there's my invitation, there's my offer. Hope some of you guys take advantage of it. And look, let me just say this. Sean, is that Sean Evans? Terry Allen. Terry, I know will be there. She's another rock star. She's crushing it, and she's doing a great job. And I see some of the other people here, which is really good. So
managed to ask when it is. It's the November 16th, 17th, 18th. Did I get the dates right?
Good question, right? So yes, so it starts Wednesday. So again, if you're doing virtual, and everything's recorded, by the way. So if you miss something, like we're going to do session, we're going to post it immediately. Everything gets done through our app. So we develop a proprietary app. So we're actually going to do the live stream in our app. So all the documents are there, the live stream is there, there'll be a message board, you can Q&A it. So it's really like, even if you can't be in the room, you're going to be in an online community going through some experiences at the same time. So that's what makes it really, really cool also. So no Zooms. We're going to be doing it through our proprietary app. Yeah, so it kicks off Wednesday morning, which is I'm looking at the dates, 16th. And then we go all day Wednesday, all day Thursday, all day Friday. So 3 full days, full days, 9 to 4-ish. Because after that, if the law of diminishing return kicks in and everybody's kind of vaporized by then. But it's one of the most powerful things you'll ever do. I've never, and I say this respectfully with total congruency, I've always offered a guarantee. I've never had to give anybody their money back in 21 years.
Very cool. Very cool. And we'll put the URL and the code in the follow-up email with the recording.
Cool. Excellent.
So that'll all get there. So we'll hang out for a second here, Joe. I mean, you're awesome, dude. Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your.
Oh, I love this stuff. You know that.
Yeah, I know. I love it too. We don't get to chat often enough, so we get to do it in front of an audience today, which is kind of cool.
There we go. Yeah.
So if there's any other questions, you got any questions about the mastermind in Fort Lauderdale, November 16th to 18th. Again, the website is fabizplan.com. The code is Magnet23 to save $1,000.
Yep.
If you have other questions, put them in the Q&A. Cheryl, let me know how. Listen, Cheryl, you're so supportive with Females in Finance. Thanks for always being supportive, even with this webinar and other events that we do. I'm sure Joe would love a shout out in Females in Finance about the mastermind. And then Joe, we spent a lot of time on the mastermind, but in the closing minutes that we have here, let's talk about the network a little bit. How can somebody really get involved in Magellan? Like the thing I said up front is honest and true. You are a guy that brings value way ahead of asking for anything in compensation to that.
Yeah.
Tell me about how the mastermind works. I know you got a free level where people can jump in and learn from you. And
yeah, I appreciate that. So, I'm a big believer, and I think Charlie kind of hit the nail on the head. I don't sell what I do. I think you got to experience what I do, and either it's right or not right. I think coaches, there's two kinds of coaches, and they all serve a purpose. So there are coaches that work around a process. So they have very defined process what they do, and you kind of plug into what they do, and it works. I'm definitely more freeform, and so I'm a little bit more random. So my game's a little bit unique in that regard. So if you want to find out a little bit more about what we're doing inside of Magellan Network, just go to magellannetwork.net. And there's no cost. I mean, there's, like Charlie said, there's a complimentary level. It gets you some of our content. I think inside of Academy, there's about probably 20 hours of master class and stuff. It's just gratis. My gift to you. It's totally cool, right, from that perspective. And I know I'm not right for everybody, and I fully recognize that. I was telling somebody that we both know, put 100 advisors in a room at a conference, there's probably about 5 to 10 that are going to get what I'm talking about. The other 90 don't. Yep. So that's why Riskalyze is going to be a very interesting test for us, because I've got 3 presentations there. We have a booth, and we're going to see, if we can find those 10%ers out of those 900 advisors who are going to be Salt Lake City next week, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, that's a good number. That's a good number.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, I think check that out. Like I said, no harm, no foul, and I totally respect that. And look, the bottom line is this, and then I know we got to bounce. If I'm not the right coach for you, you need to find the right coach for you. Because here's the bottom line. And this is the biggest, somebody says, Joe, what's your biggest challenge in what you do? I said, there's 2 words, ego and arrogance. It's fascinating to me real quick that, a lot of my clients I work with, if they go to a conference, they're like, why do you work with, you're so successful, why do you work with a coach? And then there's the person who is struggling with their success, who, again, I can figure this out on my own, I don't need any help. Like somehow they think it's a sign of weakness. Like there's something missing, right? And I would just encourage that person to really rethink that. If not for yourself, for your family, for the greater good. And again, I'm not saying I'm the one, but go find the one. Go find that coach that you resonate. Because really what it boils down to is you've got to resonate with the person. Do not go into, a lot of people get into these programs and they kind of serve, they add some value. I'm not saying they don't. But you got to make sure the person who's leading that program, you drink the Kool-Aid, you're in on.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, it's not going to have the impact that you want. Period.
Awesome way to close it, Joe. I thank you again for being here and all the interaction. Thank you for everybody who had the questions, and those of you who didn't have the questions, but you took time out of your busy day to join Joe and I today. Appreciate that wholeheartedly. I know it's life's busy. For you to take an hour with us, well, that means something. So thank you. Joe, once again, thanks, man. We'll be in close communication leading up to November.
Talk to you on Monday.
Yeah, we'll talk on Monday. And then Chris, great stuff. Thank you for your comment. Terry, thank you. I'll catch you on Monday when you're out in Salt Lake or wherever the heck you are at that time.
Little downtime in Park City first, then the big push to Salt Lake. Yeah,
that sounds pretty good. And then, man, I'll see you in person pretty soon here. November 16th, going to creep up on us fast.
No kidding.
Yeah, kidding. Yeah, faster for you than it is me, I think.
Yeah. So, man, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was a blast. I can't believe it's an hour.
I know. It goes by so fast.
Yeah, wow. I really did. That was good.
Yeah, and we'll get a recording out tomorrow. I'll put all your contact information in there too, Joe, so that people get a hold of you. But MagellanNetwork.net to check out the network and all that, the gratis and the value up front that Joe provides. And then again, FABizplan.com and Magnet23 for the mastermind.
Yeah. Very cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it, man.
Thanks everybody for being here. Have a great Tuesday, and we're out.